Outworking everyone without motivation. You probably clicked on this video because you're tired of procrastinating and your work is piling up. You're unable to fully concentrate on your work. I know, I've been through the same. However, I found a solution to this problem, which could turn you into a businessman or an athlete. But most won't do it because of the boredom. This video might change your life forever. Preparation. However, to actually do it, you'll have to watch the full video with full attention and full focus. Trust me, put the phone away from you. Stop everything you're doing. Close your eyes and just listen to this film carefully. I know most of you watching won't do it, but it's worth a try. Maybe after you've reached your goals, you'll think about this point in time. Picture yourself in a room with just a book and your phone. You'll choose the phone without a second thought, because it's much more interesting and comfortable. If you try to push yourself to read the book, it might make you feel bad, especially if you read a lot of books. This is because the phone is more enjoyable than the book, and social media has made us want things right away. Just think about how many times we've lost track of time while lazily watching YouTube videos or TikTok reels. Those in charge of these social media companies don't want their children to use these addicting apps for a reason. For years, you've trained yourself to always be on your phone, looking through Instagram to get dopamine. That's why you would choose to use your phone. The main reason we cannot sit down to be productive and focus on work is not because it is boring. It's because we have a short attention span, which causes us to lose focus very quickly on the task at hand. One of the most effective ways that drastically increases our attention span is to meditate. In contrast to spiritual gurus, of which you probably secretly think they are not in their right mind at all, meditation is not that big of a deal. But in my personal experience, it's helped me to relax and feel more fresh. However, think about the same thing happening to you in your room, but you only have a book. Now that your most interesting choice is gone, you have to pick between reading a book or sitting in silence for 8 hours, which is not even possible for most of us. Now it's much easier to read that book we were having trouble with before, or do the task that you've been putting off. You'll give in, because it's better than just sitting there and being bored, even if you don't want to at first. We might not be doing it because it's fun, but because it's more fun than the other things you could be doing. That's the trick. Even though we're busy, we're wired to look for fun. Our brains are wired to look for things that are the most interesting. What does this mean then? You'll want to use your phone if it's the most interesting thing around. If reading a book is what gets you excited, then you should read a book. Even the things you've been avoiding will seem less appealing than being by yourself and being quiet. Social psychologist Timothy Wilson conducted a study placing volunteers in a room with nothing but a button. If pressed, they would receive an electric shock. After 15 minutes of sitting in an unfurnished, completely empty room alone, 67% of males and 25% of females chose to willingly electrocute themselves over doing nothing, with some participants deciding to press the button multiple times. It's worth pointing out that the volunteers had previously stated that they would be willing to pay money to avoid the pain of such an electric shock. If we read between the lines of this study, it perfectly illustrates how boredom can be utilized as a tool, incentivizing you to be more productive. However, I couldn't stop scrolling through YouTube videos, even though they weren't making me happy. Since my friends were busy and I didn't have any work to do, I turned to quick gratification, but it didn't make me happy. But my brain still thought getting instant gratification was the most fun thing to do, so I kept watching TV shows and playing video games. I was able to cut down on mindless scrolling last year by practicing things like meditation, boxing, training, etc., which helped me focus and be disciplined. I really think that everyone watching this video should try it. Try to be one of the 5% of people who watch this video and then make a real change in their life, instead of moving on to the next video. If you meditate for just 3 minutes every day for a month, you'll notice a huge change in how well you can focus and stop scrolling mindlessly. I also blocked websites and apps that were annoying and didn't give me any benefit. There's already too much going on in our lives, so getting rid of more of it would be great. Start by giving up the games and websites that are annoying you the most and that you don't enjoy. It's important to give your harder jobs more attention when you're having fun because that makes them much easier to do. My life lost so much interest that work became easier to do because it looked better when I had fewer fun things to do. This is because everyone has their own idea of what fun is. Doing homework almost becomes fun when compared to sitting for 8 hours, and reading a book almost becomes fun when compared to doing homework. What's fun and what's boring depends on what the choices are. Although I never wanted to watch those movies on my own time, I loved watching them in high school history class because they were more fun than just listening to a lecture. Actually, the work isn't more interesting or fun. It's just easier to get yourself to do it. Are we all going to stop everything that keeps us from watching YouTube and only watch TikTok? I, along with 99% of people watching, think the answer is no. Even though I did spend less time on these social media apps, I'm not going to fool you into thinking it's possible to stop using all of them at once. It's easier to give up some kinds of excitement than others. I found it much easier to give up video games than YouTube or Reddit, even though I could immediately get what I wanted on those sites. But we still need to stop wasting hours on content that gives us instant gratification. And you can do this by making a list of things you need to do. That's it. Get some paper and list all the things you need to do. The trick is to include things that are very easy to do, like cleaning your room. Then, whenever you catch yourself watching something like that, you can stop. Here's how it made a huge change for me. Let's talk about my personal experience. I recently had a conversation with a friend who struggled with procrastination and discovered that keeping a daily notebook helped her succeed. They were able to maintain their attention and motivation throughout the day by devoting just 10 minutes each morning to thinking through their priorities and goals. After hearing about their experience, I decided to give journaling a try, and I've noticed a big increase in my productivity. I started applying it in areas I never thought it would help. Here's an example from my high school days. I was a football freak, but I was pretty slow. I tried joining academies, but I was always sidelined because of my laziness. However, this motivated me. I started training alone. I wrote down some ball techniques that I wanted to practice, and I went to the gym. With time, I got selected for the football academy I always wanted to join since high school. So that proves that even you can make it as well. The truth is that nothing is ever too effective, even if they can block out most of the things that distract them. So, even if you don't want to do your hardest or most boring work, you can get things done by doing the smaller jobs first, instead of wasting your time and scrolling through social media. And the feeling of doing something good will motivate you to do even more work and push yourself to eventually be better. That's all I had to say. The decision is now in your hands. I'm out. Peace.